be behind it?
Who withdrew it?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
From all over the world. I mean, you had buyers all over the world having metal delivered out, and there were rumors that China and Comex. I mean, they've sent metal over there to try to help supply for the delivery. Just understand that silver got more overbought on this run than any time. I think we equaled where silver got to on an RSI on the overbought with the 1980 Hunt Brothers episode. So I mean, to see the pullback, that's no surprise at all. And we should have had a pullback prior to even getting to 50. They ran it to 50, ran it up to what, 54, 50, or thereabouts. It ran, 10% through the 50 number, pulled back. Gold now is back over 4,000. Silver's at 48 and change, sniffing at 50 again. Once these things get their legs under them again, you're going to see another run. But they were due a correction. They have worked off some of the overbought. They're certainly overbought on the weeklies and monthlies. But the dailies, the overbought has been relieved somewhat. And let's see what happens. Again, I had tons of emails, people saying, "Oh my God, what's going on? The market's down. How come silver's down? How come gold's down?" You have to expect corrections. I mean, even in Weimar Germany, when that was ramping up, you had periods of time where gold and silver were down early in the 1917, 1918. By the time 22, 23 came around, it was straight up, but you were looking at a mass exodus out of a currency and into gold and into dollars at the time, or dollars and pounds at the time. So we were due a correction. We got a correction. Um, and when people would email me, "What's going on? Why is silver down?" I got to the point I was responding, "Does it really matter? Who cares?" And be careful what you wish for, because like I said, we get to 70, 80, $100 silver, the markets will break, and then you and I, we won't be doing interviews like this. We'll be worried about where the next meal is, going into your storage, go picking from your garden or whatever. The days of what do you want to eat tonight? Let's go to the corner store and pick it up. Those days are going to be over completely.
It's amazing we're talking like this. If we'd have spoken such things, 15, 20 years ago, which I mean, again, I know you've been ahead on
I
this,
did.
but
I did 10 years ago, 15, 16, 17. When it became apparent, I started using the term Mad Max. And the comments and emails that I received, I'm a complete wacko. Well, now it's mainstream. I mean, even the average ordinary person can see it, especially people on EBT cards, because now they're looking at, in 2 days or 3 days, whatever it is, um, their cards aren't going to work. So, I mean, that stuff is what I'm trying to say.
you froze up there, Bill. So can you say what you just said again? You froze up for a second.
Yeah, crazy stuff is now normal.
And I think that people they need to get back. They need to start accepting the fact that life is not going to go back to the way it was before COVID, and people
No,
need to people
no
need to
way.
people need to prepare. And here's the other thing though is what I find. People have said I don't provide any viable solutions. I don't ask my guests what are solutions you could be doing on the local level. So Bill, I'm going to ask you that because apparently I never do that with anybody. What do you think people should be doing right now?
Uh, you obviously need to prepare. You need to stockpile things. You need to make sure you've got tools to fix things. I mean, things are going to break. I mean, I've talked about this. I have two separate well pumps. I have one that I used for irrigation. It was the original pump, and then a second pump. And what did I do? I went out and I bought the parts and a brand new pump. I mean, I have complete parts to rebuild an entire well. From the standpoint of, yeah, was it expensive? Yeah, I spent some money doing it, but I can tell you now, 3, 4, 5 years later, it's way more expensive, probably close to double if I went out and bought the parts today. Um, so prepare for, and I've said this: go home on a Friday, turn your power off, spend the weekend with no power. Know where the holes are in your program, in your plan. I mean, you can go back and forth, stuff that you and I have even talked about over time. The preparations. I mean, I have an entire section on my website geared toward preparing. So, from the standpoint of, if people are giving you a hard time about, what should I do to prepare, you're not giving us any solutions. Well, go to my website, click on Grizzly's Corner. There's more stuff there than than probably not the average person, but probably 95% of the people out there would be able to do. But the suggestions are there, the links are there. There are links to products. Um, Prepare to the point where you are self-reliant, and don't expect to be able to pick up the phone and dial 911 because somebody's on your property and you don't have a gun to shoot them, or somebody's hurt or sick or whatever. Nobody's going to answer 911. You're going to have to go alone.
Well, I think the other thing
And
that
I'll just say this. Let me say this, Mike. Anybody who's telling you uh, that you're not doing your job, you're not giving solutions, tell them to contact your editor and ask for a refund because they watch your videos for free. I would tell them to piss off.
well, and I think that thank you for that, by the way. But I think that also people in cities, and I know I live in one, but we've
They're
normal.
dead. They're dead. You live in a city, you're dead. There is no preparations or suggestions for you. If you live in a city, you're done.
We've normalized, the National Guard being deployed in, several cities now, DC and several other cities. We've normalized
Right.
this, and how many more will be coming? And to your point, things go really, really haywire. Uh, Good luck getting out.
Right. I agree.
But
Where are you
yet,
going to go? Where are you going to land? You'll be viewed as a looter. You get out into the country and you're viewed as a looter.
yeah, and if people think, somebody said to me, Bill, is they're like, you could just go up to Flagstaff. I said, okay, you think that if you think you're going to get up that freeway, that at I-17 going up north, one, they'll blow it up. They'll blow a part of a bridge up to make sure you don't get there. If you somehow do, they're not going to welcome you with open arms.
Unless you unless you bring something with you. Unless you bring something to the table.
What do you think? I know I'm running out of time here with you, but what do you think? Let's forecast for a second what the end of Trump's term will be. What will everyday Americans, what will life be like in the United States?
Well, you're talking 3 years out, or a little more than 3 years out. Uh, we will have already been through a disaster. And I can't tell you whether the system goes down and stays down, or whether the system goes down, starts to come back up and sputters. I mean, I don't. 3 years out, we will already have been through a disaster. 3 years out is too far to speculate on what things are going to look like. But between now and then, there's going to be a financial and social absolute disaster on human terms that we've never seen before.
Worse than 29 in your view?
Oh, by far. First off, there's way more leverage in the system. You have a currency that has no backing. Currency had backing back then. And think about this: back then, neighbors knew neighbors. Neighbors helped neighbors. Nobody, people don't even know who their neighbors are now. And when somebody goes down, the neighbors come in and pick through the rubble like vultures. The social aspect is so different today from 1929. 1929, I'm going to say we were still if you want to call it a godly country. The thought process today is me, me, me. Not what can I do to help someone else. The average person thinks, it's all about me. I'm going to take everything I can. And when somebody comes on hard times, like I said, neighbors come in and pick the corpse clean. That's the biggest difference is the mindset, the social aspect.
Well, and the fact that people don't know how to do anything today either.
That too. Yeah, farming. We were an agrarian society in the early 1900s. I mean, even if you weren't a farmer, you knew how to grow tomatoes. You knew how to grow stuff. You knew how to can stuff. You knew how to hunt and clean a carcass. You knew how to fish. That's people do their hunting and fishing now at the grocery store, and in many cases on credit.
Yeah, and and there was a physical. I mean, that was my grandparents' era, which they're both gone now. But the physical, mental aspect too, because you were born, you had no choice. You were tough. We don't have that today.
Right. Well, and parents brought kids up differently. And kids are not brought up the way they were back then to be self-reliant. Kids are brought up today and they're coddled. Just a very simple thing. If you messed up in school, you got your ass whipped. Remember that? I don't know if you're old enough to remember the paddle.
They were phasing
You
it
did
out. They were
something
phasing it
wrong,
out
and
in
either the
in my.
principal.
Sorry, that didn't mean to cut you off. They were phasing it out when
Yeah,
I
well,
was in
they weren't
post.
phasing it out in my era. Yeah, they weren't phasing it out in my era. I mean, if you did something wrong, you're bending over and either in front of the principal or the gym coach or whatever. Today, if a principal or gym coach took a paddle to a kid's ass, they'll get sued, lose their job, and, completely game over. And that's a big problem with youth today. Everybody's entitled. If you grow up not thinking yourself as entitled, but there's an opportunity for you to do well in whatever field you want to do, whatever field you want to pursue, you are able to, with hard work, become successful. But the thought process now is, I don't want to do hard work. I shouldn't have to do hard work. I don't even want to work. I just want the government to support me. That's the mindset.
Yeah, and that comes back full circle to what we talked about, the amount of people that are, the government is paying for their food and their health care.
Right.
And I've said this, this other thing with the solutions, you're not voting your way out of this anymore.
Well, it doesn't matter who you vote for. It matters who counts the votes. And in today's system, it's not a two-party system. You get a boss same as the old boss. And yeah, Trump has done some good things like closing the border, uh, stopping the idiotic wokeness. But look at some of the things that he's done. And you look back, if it was 10, 20 years ago, even the right would be up in arms. I mean, think about this. If you boycott Israel, you get shut down. Well, whose alliance should your country, or should you, where should your alliance be? To your own country or to Israel. There's the new anti-Semitism laws.
Yeah, when they were talking about the peace resolution, I said, "There's no way. There's no way that's going to hold."
Well, and they're talking about turning Gaza into a resort. They're going to build high rises. I mean, in what world is that a normal or a real thing?
I can't believe
And
people.
if if you if you criticize Trump, you get the Trump cards all over you, which are they're just as bad as the left, except it's the extreme opposite.
I can't believe people anybody's still alive in Gaza after all this.
True.
And you know, are they going to be able? Are they going to be able to complete this? I don't think so. I mean, these people, they're resilient and they know how to fight. That's all they know.
Right. Well, I mean, then there's more. Then we could talk about Ukraine. I mean, that's a war funded by the West, funded by the U.S., and it started off. It all started off with the United States stealing $320 billion of Russian U.S. treasuries that they held, outright theft. I had hoped that Trump would get in and we'd have a resumption of the rule of law, but that's not the case. And the first thing Trump should have done was say, "Here's your treasuries. The guy before me was an idiot. We stole them. We're sorry." And how do you have an international order of law if that can be done? If one country can just shut another country off, and that's why gold and silver are going higher, because you have central banks buying gold, buying silver, because you can't cancel those out. If the gold is in your hands, that value can't be canceled out unless they kill you, and the value still remains to whoever's going to pick it up. Whereas with U.S. Treasuries, with the stroke of a computer key, all of a sudden that money is no longer yours. In what world does that make sense?
Yeah, and here's the ironic thing in all that. You can't we can't the United States can't make the weapons. I don't want to say we because I have nothing to do with this. The United States can't make the weapons, and they make the weapons and they send them to Ukraine, but they need the rare earth minerals from China in order to do that. So it's almost like China's got
Right,
to approve
right,
any war that the United States starts.
correct. Yeah, and add to that, what nobody's talked about this. Where is the strategic petroleum reserve right now? It's empty. Biden emptied it out. And I think I heard last week the very first buy is going to be 1 million barrels. That's ridiculous. 1 million barrels is nothing.
They still never refilled that. It's still empty from when Trump came back into office.
Yes. Yeah, the first buy, as I understand it, was 1 million barrels. A week or 2 weeks ago, I read about that. But yeah, no, that's not been refilled. And we have to rely on rare earths from China.
Which they're doing, all these EOs in order to fast track, to be able to start doing, mining our own earth minerals. But people, that takes years.
Right? It takes a long time. Mining takes a long time. Not like drilling an oil well, you poke a hole in the ground and just because of the pressure down below, the oil, comes up. Gold and silver and rare earth minerals, they're different. Cost huge amounts of capital, and it takes time.
Where can people find you, Bill?
Just go to my website, www.billholter.com.